So welcome to the Mile High Call interview with our Mile High speakers coming up for the August 22nd, 24th event. We are very excited about having our second annual Mile High event, August 22nd and 24th, just outside Denver. And each week we're doing a strong, content-filled interview with one of the speakers so people can get to know the people that are committed and coming out to Mile High. And I'm so grateful that Dr. Joe Borio is going to be out there with us, and grateful to have you with us here, Joe.
Grateful to be here, Danny. Thank you for the invitation, and it was an honor last year, and it's as much of an honor this year. So thank you.
Well, you know, and we're filming today, Super Bowl Sunday. I figured I'd wear the Broncos gear, you know, being in the Mile High City, and you know, I'm kind of taking a risk there because who knows which way this is going to go, and this is going to air after the Super Bowl, right?
Can't go against Manning, man. I mean, seriously, it's incredible.
Yeah, and even though the game's in Jersey,
right. Schubel, we talked about that. I think Liam Schubel had something to do with it. I'm not sure. But
well, CWD is spreading that far that it may be part of it.
It is. I would say it is for sure. It is for sure.
So I really would like people to get to know you a little bit because I've known you from your for chiropractic consulting, and I know you obviously from being involved with helping with Sherman College Board of Trustees and seeing you at Sherman Lyceum's number of years, but I'd like people to get to know you personally. So tell us a little bit about your start in chiropractic.
Yeah, great question. I started going to a chiropractor when I was a little kid. My parents were introduced to chiropractic because of a problem I had after birth. I had some difficulty during the birth process with my mother, and forceps were used. And you probably heard me talk about that. So they were used for about a half hour, and it caused some problems to my neck, and it caused me to have what they used to call wry neck, or what we would call like a torticollis. It caused a drooping eye. It caused my head to be kind of torqued and twisted back for a number of years. And my parents, after exhausting what would be deemed a conventional medical route through a neighbor, actually through the insistence of a neighbor, they went to a chiropractor. And I went to a chiropractor, and after maybe a couple of months, I started to function normally. And the beauty of my mom, she said, my God, if this could do this for Joey, who wasn't well, imagine how great it would be for the rest of the family who, in their mind, when they looked at us, we looked healthy, you know, it must be that great. So that was really my start in the introduction to chiropractic. And I'd always gone. So the beauty I had over so many people, even those students now in chiropractic, you know, there was never a negative stigma. It was never an alternative. It wasn't something that you would try. It was really part of my life. It was truly part of being healthy. It was truly a part of taking care of my body. And so I used to see a doctor by the name of Dr. Thaser, William Thaser, and I saw him my entire life. And then when I went to college, I played football in college. I worked with a Dr. Usborne who took care of me. And then what was funny, Danny, not to go on here, but I was I was dating a girl. It always comes down to a girl, doesn't it?
It always does.
And I was dating a girl, and her father was involved in medicine and was an orthopedic, and I was going to go to medical school. So I went to Brockport State. I finished a pre-med program and accelerated 3 years. I did Strong Memorial Hospital as a kind of an internship as they would with the other pre-med students. And the funniest thing was I came home and said, I don't want to do this. And my mother and father said, well, what do you mean? We already applied to medical school. You're accepted. You're in. And I said, everybody's sick. And it's the weirdest thing, but I was like, I don't want to work with a bunch of sick people. Like, everybody's sick. You go in the hospital and everybody's sickly. And it is silly and as stupid as that is to hear, I just never thought about it because I was always around healthy people. I was always around people that went to a chiropractor. I was around people that exercised. I was around people that were into an idea of what it took us to be well, including my family. So it was that's what did it. My mother said, go talk to Dr. Thaser, and so my life began as a chiropractor. So
wow, that's so interesting because that so parallels my story of my own life, which I'm not going to go into right now. But in essence, I was struggling with allergies. A neighbor said, "Go take him to a chiropractor because it's a drugless healing art." and it changed my life and my health. And I kept thinking, my parents were separated, and not to go into detail, but my dad was a medical doctor, and everything was to do that. And I was just like, everybody's sick, and it was like, I don't want to do this. This does not
Right.
seem like a good lifestyle at all. And he
Sure.
didn't seem, like it wasn't the way to go.
Right.
And then there was a girl I was dating, and she really liked chiropractic. So she liked the fact that I was getting chiropractic, and all of a sudden I paid attention because of a girl, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So now here's the thing. I see you. I follow you around on Facebook. I follow you around in the profession. You are really busy. You do a lot of things. Sherman College, you're consulting, running your practice and your kids. And yet you take your time out to go to things Mile High, Cal Jam, Focus. I always say you take your time to be at those things. Why do you do that? Why do you think it's important, both as a presenter, but also for chiropractors to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think. What had happened with me, just to take a step back, I was definitely into that self-absorbed. You're just building your practice. I wasn't involved politically. I wasn't involved in locally political organizations. I was a member of them, but I didn't go. I didn't participate, and I was just focused on seeing more people and learning. And I started having friends come out and were like, how do you see all these people? Like, what are you doing? And it was really funny because they would come in and look for, what's your business card? Or what's your, I have these bent pens, with Borio Chiropractic. I had those things. And it was funny that they gravitated to that. It was funny that they gravitated to these little things. And I was thinking, wow, I don't really think I thought about it one day. I never really stepped back and said, why is it that I'm seeing all these people? I was so engrossed in doing what I was doing that I never really stepped back and said, well, what is it that I'm actually doing? So a few of my very good friends, Steve Archelao's one, and he said, Joe, you got to start looking, recording, see what you're doing. So that's what we started to do. We started to kind of step back, and I certainly had a lot of mentors that taught me certain things. A lot of things we came up with, by yourself, if you will, from learning from somebody else. And I realized that, my God, these guys, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, and I certainly don't mean it in a condescending way, there's so many people that are lost. People are looking for a gimmick. And I found, though I'll word it this way, I didn't think about it that way, Danny, we want to bring a vitalistic mindset, a paradigm of what health truly is to the world, yet we run our lives and our practices allopathically. We're reactive. We look for things outside in for the practice. Hey, I want to hire a coach, and I want all these things outside. I want all these gimmicks. I want all these tricks. I want all these other things, when in reality, and that's how we market our office, everybody, reactive, it's always outside in. And when I really took a step back,
bent pen, right? It was the bent pen. That's what did it.
That's the immunization. That's the Advil. That's the pill. That's the drug. And then all of a sudden I stepped back and said, wow, so much of what we do is within. And I read a couple of biographies. One of them was Ben Franklin, the greatest investment you can make is in yourself. And I realized that so much of what the practice had become was because we focused so much time on, if you will, my mindset, my headspace. You hear me say my 6 inches between the ears. So your understanding, your clarity, your conviction, your ability to communicate, your confidence, all of those things were really what brought the practice forward. And then learning that, I realized that there's so many people in the world that are sick, and we are the answer. As chiropractors, we truly are the answer. And I don't mean to minimize just the adjustment when I say just the adjustment, because chiropractic is so much more than that. The beauty of it is the understanding of the principle, the understanding of where health comes, the understanding, the thoughts of connecting us to source, connecting us to innate, connecting us to universal, looking within ourselves as making ourselves that we're responsible for the outcome. We have to take action in order for things to change. That has to come from within. So all of a sudden I realized, wow, so much of the profession isn't working that way. The profession is lost. They're scared. There's fear. There's apathy. There's lack of clarity. And I was like, wow, you know what? If I can go out and make an effort to spend some time sharing a weekend, a couple of days, that's brings me as much joy, I will say, as when if you and your wife came in and said, would you check our baby? I mean, that's those goosebumps you get, that feeling that you get that has nothing to do with anything other than, my God, I love doing this. It's I want to cry right now. I just feel so connected, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I feel that same way when somebody says, hey, Joe, would you come out and speak at a core? Would you come out and speak at an EPOC? We want you to come out and share an hour and get us on fire and teach us something, and that's what really led me to do that, and that's why I love doing it. So
Well, and it's because you're giving. It's because
Absolutely.
you're giving, and you can't outgive the giver. You know.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, and I gotta tell you, I got to go to your event in Vegas,
Yeah.
and I've got to tell you, it was phenomenal
Thank
for
you.
this reason. Because I've gone to a lot of chiropractic programs, and you have, and that was the first program of yours that I knew you that I went to. And so often there's a lack of congruence in people's programs, and yours was so congruent with the pure philosophy to help people get their practice in the right direction and from the right place and heart and message. It blew me away. I mean, it was phenomenal, and I wish I had gotten to go to the last one you had in Vegas with Dave Major and
That's right.
Roberto. Yeah,
Roberto's-
yeah. I mean, those are three rock stars there between.
Thank you. They were great. Yeah, I mean, and that was about presenting. Our event in January was, you gotta get out in front of people, even if you feel like you kind of suck at it, and you gotta put yourself out there because
Right.
people want the real raw authenticity. They're not looking for some polished man or woman in the beautiful outfit or suit, trying to sell them a basket of goods. They want the raw, real, and if you get out there and just tell them, and you're coming from a heart, they're not all going to get it, but some of them do, and that's how you grow your practice.
Though you have been known to put on an Elvis outfit once in a while.
That still is what it That was funny, man.
And on that note, when you spoke at Mile High, and I wasn't going to record it. I wasn't sure I was going to, because it's a big expense to record those events,
Sure.
and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. I'm really glad I did. But I watched that recording of yours. I told you this a few weeks back, because I do it as my morning power hour. I get 20 minutes while I'm getting dressed, and I stream it into my Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Your presentation at Mile High was off the charts. It was awesome. And there was something that you said that I hadn't heard you say before that I'd like you to share a little bit more about, because you mentioned how in your office, and you did it from a place of humility, that the number of people you see per day, but also the number of new patients you see a month, and how what the difference was there, because I was always taught or trained by other people or mentored that
Sure.
rule of 100, the rule of 10. You want 500 people a week, you need 50 new people a month. If you want
Right.
1,000 people a week, you got to have 100 new people a month. And you were very far from that, which is I had never heard that before. So what was the key to people, being able to get a good volume practice but without running lots of new people through?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. One of my big mentors, and who taught me, and I was a groupie. I was a Reggie Gold groupie. I mean, literally, he would speak in Toronto, he would speak in Jersey, and he would speak in Florida. So for probably 4 years early on in my practice, I mean, wherever Reggie was, I went. And one of the things that he would always say was, you need to care for these people. You have to care for these people. You have to do a care plan. If they can't afford it, I mean, you have to set up a plan that you could afford, that they could afford. But what I got out of it had nothing to do with money. What it got out of it was, I'm caring for people. I'm caring for families. And then I grew up in an Italian family, and my dad runs a restaurant. And my father always was talking about, that repeat business, if you will, establishing a relationship with a customer. So it's kind of cliche now, But my dad, in a very old school way, he would say those words. We need to establish relationships with customers. We want the family to come in every Friday night for fish dinner. We want the family to come in every Sunday for our Sunday buffet. You know, that's what we're trying to grow, that type of business.
Right.
And that stuck with me. So when we started practice, I was, and I went through those same numbers. I had those mentors, I had those teachers. And then you work with dentists. A lot of dentists, they close their number of new people. Once they have a certain following, they don't take new patients anymore. And I was realizing that, wow, we don't do that as chiropractors. Right. And I love to listen to everyone. There's a couple of guys out there now. They're really big volume guys, and they do a lot of big stuff, and they do the dinner with a doc. And I'm not saying those aren't bad. Those are bad things. I'm not. But all of a sudden, when you start looking at that volume, you're like, holy crap. They're bringing in 100 or 150 new people every single month. Right. And it boggles my mind because I'm thinking, wow, whatever number you're at, let's say you're at 1,000 a week or 500 a week, or you got some guys seeing 2,000 or 3,000 a week. Those are great things. But the reality is, if you have to bring in 100 or 150 or whatever to sustain that volume, you're losing that many people every week. Right. Or every month. You're losing hundreds and hundreds of people every month if you have to bring in hundreds of people every month. So that just didn't set well with me. So I really started to focus on working on the adjustment above the atlas. What BJ talked about. Unbrainwash the people, but we also have to unbrainwash the chiropractor. We got to start realizing that, look, is the nervous system truly the foundation of health? And it is. And if it's the foundation of health, that means their nervous system needs to be cared for, like their teeth, their nutrition, all those other things we talk about. It has to be cared for regularly, and that's where we need to start. We need to start with educating them about the nervous system, how they live their body through the nervous system, how it regulates everything, how it needs to be cared for. And then I want to care for you, Danny. I want to care for your wife. I want to care for your children. In fact, not only do I want to, you need to be cared for. You need to be cared for by chiropractic in the adjustment. That's what it is I do. And I do everything I can to establish that relationship. And I establish that relationship, and I nurture the relationship forever. I mean, I literally will have conversations with people within the first couple of days that I look forward to being, thank you for honoring me. I look forward to being the chiropractor for you and your family for the rest of your life. I mean, those are words that we say all the time. I forward place that all the time. It doesn't mean they all do it, but boy, I'll tell you, they're a lot more likely to do it if you lay out what the expectations of the relationship are, as opposed to, well, come on in today and let me pop you here so your little backache goes away. Well, then they don't want you unless their little backache comes back again, and that's got nothing to do with what we do.
Right.
So
yeah, and you are doing that so well, and we all have to do that, because also it's not just that we're losing, like we're losing the patients. The patients are losing. Patients are losing.
Right.
That's what it's about, and they're not getting care. And so when you went over that, it just blew my mind and expanded me. And just when I go to a program, sometimes if I get one thing, it's worth it.
Sure,
and that just broke that mold of that, because I'd heard it so often that, hey, I've got to rethink this. And even after all the programs I've been to and taught people, I've got to, you just opened that up for me. So that was really, good. Here I want to ask you is, what other programs do you have coming up this year?
Oh, that's a great question. We have our next event's going to be at my office. We actually do 2 events at my office, and if you're a client, you actually can come right to our practice on Friday, and we actually do the training right in the practice, which is nice. So you get to see the layout, you get to see how I work with people, you get to see anything from how somebody checks in and how we process somebody new to the practice to how we handle all the issues, the adjustments, the children, we call them nerve impulse checkups, but re-exams and so forth. And that's a beautiful part, and that's for clients only. And then in the afternoon, we open it up to non-clients or guests and so forth. So we do that Friday and Saturday. That's going to be March 28th, 29th. And thank you for asking me about that. And then we're going to do one in Philadelphia. We're going to be in Chicago. We're going to be in Dallas. And then we always finish it up in Vegas again. So you can go right to the website, which is chiropassionconsulting.com, and you register right on the website to anything you want to go to. So we'd love to have you.
And of course, you're going to be at Sherman Lyceum.
We're going to be at Sherman Lyceum. I'm going to be at Tim Young's Focus in July. We've got several epochs. We've got several cores. We've got several philosophy groups. I'm going to be in Maryland. So I'm usually doing an event at least once a month, if not more. I'm speaking somewhere. So.
Yeah, so I can't recommend enough to people to look at your schedule and get to see you somewhere, because they're going to get something out of it for their practice and to help their practice members. And so I'm really excited for you being at Mile High this year, and you're doing an hour this year. You're going to do an hour continuing education. Can you just say one thing about what you're going to cover?
Yeah, we're going to do what we call the science of subluxation. I think the concern that I see out there, part of it is that clarity. Mm-hmm. And what is it that you do when you walk into somebody's room to care for them? What is it that you're actually trying to do? And I think we're lost in that. We were just talking about that. The new people and how the individual you care for suffers. That's the tipping point. If we're not putting the right message out, we're never going to get through lifetime care. We're never going to get through the idea that people need to be cared for. Part of the clarity, part of the confidence is to know that what we do is so scientific. D.D. Palmer came up with what we do 5 years before he ever adjusted Harvey, and he had 5 principles that he based his approach to Harvey Lillard on, and they're all based on science, the understanding of the nervous system and impulses of quantity and quality and innate and intelligence. And he was writing all that stuff down years before he ever adjusted Harvey Lillard. So what does that mean now? How has science taken that and actually done research on it, and then looking at infants, looking at adults, looking at seniors? What is the sympathetic, parasympathetic? How does it affect the subluxation? How does it affect tone, vibration? All that research is out there. So when we talk about it from a philosophical or metaphysical standpoint, it perfectly blends with that science, and that's really what I want to bring this year.
That's awesome, and that's why I'm doing this program, because here's the thing. We have a problem in Colorado, and we'll wrap this up saying this. We have a problem in Colorado. One is all the continuing education that comes out here, and we're going to have a very good philosophy event, same energy as we did before, but all the continuing education in Colorado and surrounding areas is the allopathic elbow exams, knee exam junk. None of it's chiropractic. So I said, you know what? I want to have these people be able to get chiropractic so they can get more certain in taking care of people. Yes. And you've heard Liam Schubel share that Crazy Town talk that he talks about how we live in Crazy Town. Yeah. This center of the country is chiropractic Crazy Town, because we have chiropractors that are wanting to do injections, and you're never going to believe this, Joe. Now the chiropractors in Colorado, they want to pass that chiropractors has the right. You're sitting down, so that's good. That chiropractors have the right to vaccinate people.
Yes, sure. Why not? So they're totally effective and it's suggested to be highly toxic and harmful to people. Why wouldn't we want to do that?
I know. So I mean, this is our way to strengthen the chiropractors, and you bring light a few candles. So I'm really or maybe a bonfire. So
well, hopefully,
yeah. I'm grateful for you to coming out. I'm grateful for all you do in chiropractic, and thank you for being part of the vision.
Right. Well, thank you, Danny, as well. And I know you do a lot for the IFCL. In fact, that's what your inspiration was for Mile High. And don't cut yourself short. You do an enormous amount. And I told you through some private conversation what an inspiration you are as a father and as a husband and as a leader and as a chiropractor. It's an honor to be your friend.
Well, thank you, bro. Thank you. So, go Broncos!
Go Broncos!
And we'll see you Mile High, and I'll see you at Sherman before that.
I'll see you at Sherman several times before that.
Yeah, several times.
Thanks, Danny.